All right, so very good evening to all of you, and thank you so much for joining us on Upfront. Today is the 1st of July, 2020, and it's day 2 into the compilation of a new voters register by the Electoral Commission of Ghana. Well, yesterday when it started, contrary to expectation, many of you turned out there to register, but there were some few challenges. In fact, you could actually say major challenges, because there was no social distancing, or maybe physical distancing. In some of the polling stations that we visited, we realized that some people also went to the polling centers without wearing face coverings, nose masks, or face shields. That is also a challenge. But of course, there's the usual complaints of intimidation here and there. And so today, being the 1st of July, our focus would not be on Ghana's Republican status, but our focus would be on the compilation of a new voters register. On Monday, the Voter Caucus NDC in Parliament actually organized a press conference at Aflao in the K2 South District of Municipality, complaining about what they described as intimidation and attempt by the government to actually scare lots of persons, particularly in that constituency, from registering. Well, what we saw yesterday and today is that these persons have gone out there to register. They gave the government an ultimatum. Well, that ultimatum has expired. We're told they have a plan B. And so today, the chairman of the Voter Region NDC caucus in Parliament, Emmanuel Kwesi Bejra, will be joining us. He would help us understand what is going to be happening next. But we'll also be having one man who's worked in the Electoral Commission before. He's worked as Director of Electoral Services. He's now part of the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, to help us appreciate what maybe could have been done differently in all of this. And of course, we'll be showing you some of the things that I've been talking about. The fact that if you go out there now in some of the polling centers, social distancing is something that nobody is practicing. My name is Winston Amwa, and this is Upfront on your Joynews channel. We'll be right back after this break. All right, so welcome back from that short break, and thank you very much for staying with us. This is Upfront on the Joynews channel. My name is Winston, and today our focus is on the first 2 days of the compilation of a new voters register. Of course, it goes up to August, and many of you are turning out to register, contrary to what was expected by a lot of people, thinking that because of all the challenges back and forth about it, and also within this particular era of COVID-19, a lot of you are not going to go out there to register. But talking about COVID-19, it is one of the reasons why we're concerned about the lack of social distancing in all of this. We've been joined this evening by former Director of Electoral Services of the Electoral Commission and currently the National Coordinator of the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers. That's Albert Kofi Ahin. He's joined us on the phone. We'll also be speaking to Emmanuel Kwesi Bejra, who is Member of Parliament for Ho West and the Chairman of the Voter Region NDC caucus in Parliament. But let me start off with you, Albert Kofi Ahin. Thank you very much for joining us. I believe you're fine this evening. So I know you've been going out there to monitor. So far, what's been your assessment of the whole process?
Yes, yesterday we came out to say that some protocols were not observed. But it was a very gloomy picture we saw yesterday, or we painted. But I can tell you that today is better. It's better today because in almost all centers visited, the protocols were being observed. Only in a very few areas were not adhering properly to what was supposed to be done. And the police, I'm sure, were on hand to help a lot in this particular case. So they do, so far as the COVID protocols are concerned, I think there's an improvement. There is an improvement over yesterday's.
Help me understand the improvement you talk about. So yesterday you painted that gloomy picture. What is the improvement today? What has changed?
Yes, for example, yesterday we were talking about people not even washing their hands in certain areas. Sometimes the temperature machine is not even used at all. People were just packed. There was no spacing at all. And it's like, in a market in some places. So when we visited the places today, the observers are saying that I think the police were alerted, so they were able to enforce some kind of discipline so the spacing was adequately done. All the necessary applications that were supposed to have taken place were all done. So the protocols have been observed, at least in more than 70% of the places that we visited. It was better than what we saw yesterday.
Well, in some of the places that we visited, we still saw the situations that we saw yesterday. And that brings to the fore the question that, should we expect anything different? I mean, this is a much talked about, much publicized registration exercise. People certainly would go out to register, wouldn't they, Mr. Ahin?
Yes, what I want to say is that, yes, in fact, it looks like everybody is blaming the EC, because of course they are the helm of affairs. They are controlling this exercise. But I want to say that sometimes the Ghanaian is also very difficult. You see, we know the implications of not obeying or not adhering to these protocols. We know what to do. But you see, maybe for the fact that somebody was there at 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. and they have not been given the chance. We find that people are very jittery, sometimes impatient, and they can do all sorts of things. My appeal to Ghanaians is that COVID is real. No matter what the EC can put in, if the people, the inhabitants themselves, don't cooperate to make it successful, we will be fighting a losing battle. The EC ultimately has to be blamed for all this, but the Ghanaian has to wake up and also help in making this a success. Well, that's what I want.
Well, just a bit of clarification, because in one instance you say many people are blaming the EC, but the Ghanaian is difficult. And in another instance you say the EC should be blamed anyway, but we should take steps to protect ourselves.
Let me cut in here. What I'm saying is that the EC is in charge of this exercise. There's no two ways about that. The EC is in charge. And we always say the uneasy lies ahead that wears the crown. Fine. But what I'm also trying to say is that in most of the cases, they've been trying to sort of insist that the right things ought to be done. But we don't have cooperation, or they don't have cooperation from the general public. And that is why I'm saying that we want to appeal to the public to cooperate with the EC. Because all lives are at risk. The EC's life is at risk, the workers' their lives are at risk, the policemen' their lives are at risk. And anybody, all the observers who go in there are at risk. So we need to cooperate to make sure that we achieve the right result that we want. Everybody who goes there should make sure that the protocols are observed. It's not only the EC, everybody.
What could the EC have done in all of this to ensure the observance of the protocols? Is it not more also the task of the security agencies that are there? For instance, wearing of masks is something the president has tasked the police to ensure its adherence. If somebody doesn't adhere to it, that person be arrested.
Yes, you remember the EC told us they had contacted the Ministry of Health to give them some personnel to assist in this protocol thing. They also are the centers. They are there. You see, and I'm sure maybe they have not been able to work effectively because they are not in uniform, I should say so. You see, so I would say that even though they are there, they should also try to help the police. The police, seem to be those ones that can easily enforce this kind of distancing and that kind of thing. And then the health people can also come in. I'm sure the EC brought in the health people to make sure these protocols are observed. Okay. But unfortunately, it was a very bad one. The two is okay, and we hope that it will continue till maybe we get to the end of the exercise, because it's important.
So we know that during elections, sometimes when there's a lot of people, the polling station is split into two so that it facilitates, easy voting and all of that. Some have actually called for that to be done also during this registration exercise. Something you agree?
I agree to what should be done.
Yes, as in, ensuring that for some polling stations where, lots of people are expected, additional equipment be brought in to ensure that those will are attended to prevent the long queues.
Oh, Oh, yes. You know, the EC itself had said that they had some mobile teams that are standing by. I don't know whether they have started using them, but there was this assertion that they have a mobile team that will be brought in to help sort out the long queues. I have not seen that it has been done, but they have that thing in reserve. That wherever you go and the queues are too long, they will bring in the extra manpower to help to do this. And I think they should consider that seriously in the days that are going to follow, so that we don't have, anytime you have long queues and people standing there not having the chance to register, then you find that, you know, these protocols will be thrown overboard. So the EC should maybe start utilizing the mobile team that they have. I understand in Accra alone they have about 70 of them.
Okay.
The mobile teams, but the teams are standing by. And I don't know when they are going to use them or whether they have been started. I don't know yet.
Okay.
But honestly, all of us need to cooperate. The police, everybody at the center, you know, we need to cooperate. What I've observed is that in areas where people have been able to provide chairs, where people are seated comfortably, it's very excellent when you go there to see it. But where people are standing, that is where you have the chaos.
Okay. So you've been Director of Electoral Service of the Electoral Commission before. During these registration exercises, has there ever been a time when you've had to, you know, increase equipment at a particular polling station just to ensure that you're able to take care of the growing numbers?
No, we never had the chance to do that. We never did that. I was very happy when I read that they want to introduce the mobile team. Mobile team to come in, for example, when there's so much work to be done. I'm yet to see it being implemented, but I think it's a laudable idea. If they're able to do it, it will solve a lot of problems. In areas where the crowd is so thick and there's chaos and whatever, they can bring in the extra team. They will mount another, you know, table and chairs or whatever, and then sort it out. But during my time, we never had that chance of bringing in these issues. Finally,
since, you know, you've talked about your time also, and in the past you've had concerns that some of these, this whole process is going for it. What would you have expected to be done different? I mean, beyond the adherence to protocols and all of that, what would you have expected to be done differently? What would you have done differently in all of this?
Well, what else could we have done? There is something that I was talking about yesterday. There are people who sometimes come to these centers and they'll be told that is not their station, so they should go back. I would suggest that maybe the EC can go to these communities with their public address systems and speak to the people. It's not everybody who will go and buy the Daily Graphic or the Times or the Daily Guide to look at where he's to register. A lot of people know very well their centers, but they will still troop to areas where the registration is going on.
Okay.
Even though the EC has put these notices around the registration centers, people are not reading, and they are still trooping in there. You see, so maybe in the evening, early in the morning, the EC can mount a public address system and go and tell the people within the locality that you are not supposed to be going to that particular center, but the day for you to go is this and that and that. To announce to the people so that their mind to be at ease. Again, the local FM stations could also be utilized to tell the people that these are your centers, or this is your center. Don't go in there. We are doing this one for 6 days. When we finish, we'll come to your place. A lot of people, I'm sure, are not, you know, in the know about what to do and about that. A lot of people keep asking me, where would they, especially where I'm staying. And I've been telling them, this is the place. You have your notice put here at the center, go and look at it, and so forth and so on. Not everybody can go and read. So we need to tell them whilst they are in their homes.
Great, great. Thank you very much. But you hold on. We'll come back to you later because we have to get to Member of Parliament for Ho West, who's also the chairman of the Volta Region MP's caucus, you know, in Parliament. And they on Monday raised a lot of issues. But before we get to him, we'll go watch, what some of the things that we've been talking about. Let me say good evening to Honorable Emmanuel Kwesi Bedra. Thank you very much for joining us. Hello, Honorable Bedra. Good evening, and thank you very much for joining us.
To your cherished viewers on Joy TV.
Great. So,
yeah.
So I know you've been in your constituency following that particular press conference on Monday, and you've been monitoring the exercise. So far, what's your assessment of the voter completion of a new register?
Well, listen, let me also add to what Mr. Ahi has said. I've been in the constituency for some time now. After our press conference on Monday, we started yesterday. It's not been bad at all. The only issue has to do with people knowing when their date for registration will be on. For instance, in a particular town, you have about 5 polling stations, and it's clustered into various times. Now, if you don't know, because you live in that town, and you decide to go and register at a different police station that it might not be closer to you, you will register all right, but that will not be your registration center. So there's a need for a lot of education, as Mr. Ahi has mentioned. We need to educate a lot of people that, yes, indeed, we are registering, but it's not yet your time. Just hold on until it's your time. The enthusiasm for people to get the voters' ID card is so high in our region, that's in the voter region. We've made our people aware that it's time for us to, possess the card, not only for election purposes, but for any other identification purposes. So people are really interested in getting the card.
But talking about not only for election, of course, for somebody like you, the main reason would be having it for election, isn't it?
Well, we all know, listen, that voters ID card is not basically for election. It's basically for election, but it's not only for election.
Sure.
So we try as much as possible to educate our constituents that, look, you need to have the voters ID card because, well, if you want to identify whether you are Ghanaian as per our electoral law, as well as the Supreme Court interpretation now, you need to have voters ID card. So time will come, you may not be able to use the old, well, now you can't even use the old voters ID card. And if you don't have the NIA card that, that's being issued by the government, if you don't have it, and you don't have a passport, the only thing that you need is a voters ID card to identify yourself. So yes, indeed, for we politicians, it's good for us for people to acquire voters ID card. But like I said, that is not the primary. That is not the main reason. I mean, the only reason for people to own it. You have it, you use it for voting, and then later on use it for something else.
Great. So on Monday, you talked about you're unhappy with military men along border towns. We'll get to that. But when you went to your constituency, Whole West to be precise, did you see any intimidation in your constituency?
Well, listen, my place has just about 2 or 3 towns that's bordering Togo, where we have the heavily military personnel station has to do with Aflao and Dedu as well as Joje area, that enclave. When it comes to Ho, Niver, to my area, as far as to Hokwe, you don't have much presence of the military personnel. Okay. So you will not see the intimidation at our area there. But it is basically around where we went to Aflao, where people are being intimidated. You said we'll get to the details later.
We will get to Aflao later. I see you have registered. How long did it take you to register?
Well, it took me 10 minutes on Monday, that was yesterday, to get myself registered and other people around get registered. My police station recorded about almost 90 people being registered today.
And in previous elections, how many people normally register in your polling station, in previous registrations?
Well, in the previous registration, you could get about 120 people to about 150, between 120 and 150 registering in a day. But you see, this I think we'll get there. Since the various police station has been reduced, the numbers has been reduced to not more than, I think, not more than 500. So that's why they've created additional police stations. I believe the 6 days they should be able to cover a lot of the people around each police station.
And so you believe that nobody will be disenfranchised, particularly in your constituency, through this process?
Well, we are hoping so. We're trying as much as possible to get people to guarantee for their brothers and their relatives. We also educating and talking to people. So we are hopeful. We are hopeful. We are hopeful.
When you say you're trying to get people to guarantee for their brothers and sisters, they should be guaranteeing for persons they know. Why are you trying to get them? Why are you trying to get them?
That's what I didn't say for people from outside. I say for their brothers and sisters.
Brothers and sisters in politics is very broad. Why are you saying we are trying to get the people?
No, I mean the related relations, the related brothers and sisters, of course.
But so far, let's look at that particular point, because you've been in your constituency. So far, the people who registered yesterday while you were there, did many of them have the Ghana card, or they had to resort to persons guaranteeing or vouching for them?
Well, a lot of people do not have the Ghana card. As I mentioned, I even have to guarantee for some of my family people. At least I've guaranteed for, so far I've guaranteed for about 6 or 7 people who are my family members who do not have Ghana card. The good part, the good part of it is that after you guarantee for 1 or 2 people, they can also guarantee for other people. So the effect is good. So after I've guaranteed for some people, they've also decided to guarantee for others who are our relation.
So having guaranteed for others who are going to be guaranteeing for others, would you then agree that this particular method of registering isn't bad after all, and that it would serve the same purpose as you would have wanted the usage of the old register to do, or the old ID card to do?
Listen, the argument about using guarantors is one thing that we have to look at again. For us, because it's a small area, Chito, my hometown, we know each other there, so you will not have problem with that. But outside, towns and communities that are related to each other, whenever if you come to the urban areas, you come to metropolitans, and people do not know each other, that is where there will be a lot of problem. Anybody at all can guarantee for anybody at all. And that is where our problem is. Not with people that are closely knitted in communities that we know each other, but where we have a major problem has to do with what I heard a few minutes ago on Joy FM, where people are busing people from other areas to Ayasu West Wogon, where there is also accusation at Asawasi and so on and so forth. You see, so we could have prevented this if we use the old voters ID card that could attest to the fact that you are a Ghanaian registered voter who has registered and voted before. That could have been averted. But now the door is so open that 2 people can guarantee for anybody. I'll give you a typical example. I went to a neighboring town. I will not mention that town, not in my constituency, and I see people who are foreigners who have passports, but they do business in Ghana here, and they have registered, so they are not guaranteeing for Ghanaians.
You saw foreigners.
You know Zamarama people. You know those we call Zamanama people.
Yes.
Those who gao, those who sell. They have passport. They've registered, and they are not guaranteeing for Ghanaians. Is that what we are looking for?
Well, but they could be.
These are some of the things that
these Zamanama people you talk about, I know some also whose mothers are Ghanaians. They qualify for a Ghanaian passport. I know some whose.
If that is what.
Yes.
So if that's what we are looking out for, people who well, all of them may not be have one parental from Ghana, like you are mentioning. Some of them who have either their mothers coming from Ghana or their fathers coming from Ghana. Some of them may not even have their mothers or fathers coming from Ghana. But because they have acquired our passport. They are now, guaranteeing for Ghanaians.
Did you challenge them?
That's not my constituency, so why would I challenge them? You have party agents there, so,
Yeah, but I mean, you're still a Ghanaian. If somebody is doing something which you think isn't right, you can still challenge that person. And it mustn't necessarily be your constituency.
If you look at the CEI, it is, and its accompanying ally, it is only party agents who are placed there, and citizens from the same community.
Hello, Rabo Bedra. Yes.
The people are challenged.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
so they can challenge them. So I may not be able to challenge.
Yes, but did you tell your party agent, for instance, to raise questions about these persons?
We have drawn their attention to it, but it looks like they know them. I'm only telling you this because I saw it yesterday.
Okay.
And yeah.
So let's move to K2 South. You've had a press conference. You've complained about the military presence. Now, you gave ultimatum. We'll get to the ultimatum, but yesterday when the registration exercise started, the reports we had, people went out in their numbers to register. There wasn't intimidation as you wanted us to believe. Hello, Rabo Bedra.
To precise on Monday, there was an intimidation, there was an assault, which I believe your correspondent reported. That alone clearly shows that there has been an intimidation in the past before we even got there. And once we were there was an assault, which I took upon myself to report to the police, the district commander. The young lady who was going to school was brutalized. I mean, was beaten by immigration officers, and the brother who was riding a motorbike was hit with the gun butt. I mean, that clearly shows that there is some harassment of citizens and local folks in Aplau and in Enclave. Well, yesterday, as I told you, as I mentioned, Voterians are not cowards. They are not people who fear. They're people who brave the storms and do things that it will even amaze you that these are people who should be afraid. But we don't fear people. We are not afraid. And therefore, we went out. We encouraged them to go out. We went out and we registered. These are some of the things we want Ghanaians to know, that when you are a Voterian, you have a voter blood in you. You don't fear gun.
So the gun that you do not fear, you actually gave ultimatum. 24 hours expired yesterday. Plan B, what is it?
Listen, you have voter blood in you, eating that voter food. I call it very well. The Voterians, and let me give you a typical adage of the Plan B. When a woman is pregnant, sometimes you will not even know that she's pregnant until the pregnancy comes out boldly. Or after 9 months, when she gives birth, then you see that the woman was really pregnant. That is our Plan B. Our Plan B is that Plan B is in motion. You will know, and you get to know what exactly our Plan B is all about.
So your Plan B is like a submarine approach?
If you say submarine approach, fine. Somebody will call it an Air Force approach. But whatever it is, we have our Plan B, and the Plan B has already started.
It has already started?
Of course.
In what forms?
Oh, listen. The form is that we want our people registered peacefully. As you said, we are peace-loving people in the voter region, and therefore they will come out boldly to register, and people are registering. Ghanaians living in Aflau, in Agbozume, in Kliko, in Denu, in 3 towns are coming out to register, and that's all.
All you want is it's for them to come out to register, and that's what you're achieving now.
Of course, we are achieving that.
Doesn't it also give credence to the government position that these persons are not there to intimidate voters?
I gave an instance yesterday of what happened, that if it is not so, then we only have witnessed one. We witnessed one, and I took it up on myself that I'll see to it that whoever the culprit is, if I even approach him and ask the police commander to take it up. So we have witnessed it. It's not that we are just making it up. It's something that we have witnessed in our cloud ourselves.
Talking about this Plan B, when you addressed the press, you talked about how you were in touch with opinion leaders, queen mothers, and chiefs within the Volta region. One of your colleagues, Samuel Okujeto-Ablaka, when we spoke to him this morning on the Super Morning Show, said you were going to meet again to decide what you were going to do. But you are saying it has already started. So a bit of a confusion here. You're now going to meet. It is
not
and you have started already.
It is not a confusion at all. It is not a confusion at all. You want to make it to sound as if it's called, we are confused. We are not confused at all. Our Plan B is working. We are in touch with everybody. It is working, and you will get to know more.
We certainly would get to know more. Before I go to Albert Kofi Ahin and then get back to you, you've talked about busing people. Yes, that's an allegation with I've heard the NDC chairman in the Yawaso West Wogan constituency make that allegation. But as politicians, allegedly, as you make these allegations, is that not something you do?
Well, I've heard a couple of people making this allegation, and I heard it today again. Others are making that allegation. I don't know about that because as much as possible, I even encourage my people, wherever they are, to stay there and register, because in any case, you want to vote for NDC, you will vote for NDC. If you want to vote for MPP, you will vote for MPP, irrespective of where you find yourself located. People want to hold to some, feeling.
Well, let me get to Albert Ahin. Let me get to Albert Ahin. Yes, go ahead. Yes, I think the line was bad.
Area of birth to be able to register there so that they can have some the feeling that they belong to that place. But apart from that, what do we gain from transporting people or busing people to we don't gain anything from it. If you want those people you are busing to your constituency or to whatever constituency, if you want them to vote for NDC or want them to vote for MPP, the best thing is to educate them that, look, when you go to the poll or when you get there, register and vote for this party. It's amongst the same numbers that we are looking.
I'll get back to you shortly. Let me get to Albert Kofi Ahin, who is the national coordinator for Kodeo, because you've raised a few issues to do with busing of people, and I'm asking the question whether it's not something that politicians do. Mr. Ahin, coming back to you, this issue of busing people, I don't know if you've observed it, but is that not something that politicians, as we know them, do all the time when it comes to registration?
Oh, yes, they do it. They do busing. What I have particularly not liked about busing is that yes, you can bring people from the hinterland, especially when they have transport difficulties, or they have to travel a distance of about, say, 4-5 kilometers to their polling centers. But the best you can do is to just bring them to the town and leave them there to go do their own thing. You don't have to bus people and go and put them in front of the EC office. I know, it's like, this is what I want you to do for me. By all means, get people to the various places because of transportation problems, yes. But don't lead them to the registration center or to the EC office, and then, you want to instruct them as to what they should do. No. Insofar as the regulations are concerned, the individual has to appear there on his or her own to go and do registration. But you see, in our part of the world here, sometimes you will find that people will be traveling 8 kilometers, 5 kilometers to get to the nearest centers. And here, if you are a party person and you have a vehicle, you want to bring them to register, you can, but leave them to their own fate. Don't, take them to the centers so that they go and register. That is what I don't like about it.
Well, people say if you have killed a snake, then just chop off the head. So if you have brought them to the town, why don't you just take them, to the centers?
That will not be proper. That will not be proper. You don't have to take them to the centers. No. You want to facilitate their movement. You've done that, and that should be the end of it. But most of the time, what we see is that they even want to go there and introduce them, and it's very, it's not a sight to see. It's not decent.
What we have also seen, is that they actually sometimes, and I'm sure you know this, particularly once you left the Electoral Commission, even if you didn't know when you were there, ones that people actually bus people from other communities, which are strongholds of their political parties, to other constituencies, which are swing constituencies, to make up for margins in order to win. You're aware of this, aren't you?
I'm aware, and it's also equally bad. It's something that is busing people across constituencies. You know that you don't have the numbers to maybe defeat somebody, and so you have supporters maybe in other areas that are, I'll call them surplus. So you add the surplus to the nearby constituency to help your colleague or something. And it's something that should not be encouraged. When the EC sees that, they will definitely not be very kind to such behaviors. It is not good. And it's something that should be discouraged.
While you were there and you knew this, what did the EC do?
Well, the EC most of the time was on them. I have had the occasion those days to sack people, to tell them you don't belong here. I remember some time back we had to move from, if we said you came from such a place, okay, let's go and find out if the people who they know you. Show me the house where you say you are staying. We've done that before in one of the cities in Ghana, where we went from house to house to find out whether people actually lived in the places where they said they were living. And you found that they were not there. So you had to cancel their names. You need to go the extra mile to be able to get that thing out, because it's a trick that they've been using, and it's really bad for elections.
The extra mile that you talk about, can the Electoral Commission go that extra mile?
I was in the Electoral Commission those days, we went that extra mile. So my colleagues can also go the extra mile.
But you need to that extra mile that you say you went, there's evidence in a lot of constituencies where these things were happening. I'm not sure I'm allowed to mention names, but I know a constituency in the Central Region, for instance, where the sitting MP at the time was busing people from his party's stronghold into that community to make up the numbers for him.
Yes, and it is something that should be abhorred. It is not to be encouraged. You see, when you see a thing like that and you are in charge, you have every right to make sure that it is discontinued. Because you don't have to bus people across constituencies or across electoral area boundaries or whatever. You don't have to do that. It is wrong.
It is wrong. I'll get back to you. We need to go for our final break. And when we return also, we'll just show you what transpired at the Odododudio constituency on day 2 of the registration exercise, and then we look at all of that also. This is UPfront on Joynews channel. My name is Winston Awan, and tonight we've been joined by Albert Kofiayin, who's National Coordinator for the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, and then Emmanuel Kwesi Bedra, Member of Parliament for Ho West and the Chairman of the Voter Parliamentary Caucus in Parliament. All right, so welcome back from our final break, and thank you very much for staying with us. So we've been talking about, the first 2 days of the compilation of the voters register, and let's just watch, my colleague Masolagwa, he's been going around, and in this report he tells us what has been happening, particularly in the Odododudio constituency, whether we're actually adhering to social distancing protocols, whether we're wearing the face mask, and what the people are saying. When we return after watching this, we'll conclude our conversation with Albert Ahin and Emmanuel Kwesi Bedra.
Disappointingly, here at the Blizzard Assurance Registration Center, social distancing is not really happening. Well, many of the people here have started wearing their masks after they've seen our cameras. But what we observed when we came here was that some of them had it in their pocket, some of them were wearing it under their chins. In fact, many of them were not wearing their masks. Social distancing, it's a big problem here. Now I'm hearing, some of the officials here telling them to space out. But you can clearly see that social distancing is not really working here. I have a concerned resident. You are a resident?
Yes.
And before we pulled out our cameras, you saw the situation here.
Yes.
Can you tell us what the situation was like before we pulled out the cameras?
The situation is not all that good. Social distancing, social distancing poor. Nose masks, no. Washing of hands, I am not seeing it. But what I'm seeing really, what I'm seeing really is the thermometer gun. The thermometer gun is being applied.
Okay.
But for the social distancing, you can even see from the cameras that it is not the best. And some of them are not even having their nose masks, and they are even shouting.
Yeah. Okay. Are you a resident here?
Yes, I'm a resident here.
Okay, so tell me.
Even we advise most of them to wear it because the thing is very dangerous. The sickness is very dangerous. But to my opinion, I have only one problem to say. This kind of queue is unnecessary. To me, it's very unnecessary because why the government didn't want to use the old one? Why the government didn't want to use the old voters ID card to vote?
Very densely populated area, so obviously you're going to have these challenges.
Okay.
It is
are you part of the EC?
Sorry?
Are you part of the EC?
I am an official for a political party.
Okay,
right? When people in Choco respected social distancing before, no. It's a problem that they always, you see, it's a problem we have here. They won't respect it. This is Choco for you.
Okay, we are here at the City Engineers Registration Center 1 and 2. And as you can see, some persons have gathered here outside the presence of the registration center. So, this lady standing here is one of the people deployed here, one of the health persons deployed here to this particular registration center. Hi, what's your name?
Dr. Swadodu. I'm here to check the temperature and to record any case which is beyond me.
Okay.
So I quickly check their temperature before they go wash their hands. Then they proceed to the next level. Above 38, from 38 going, then I put the person aside, fill a form, and then refer the person to our clinic, Osha Polyclinic.
I've been speaking to the Jamestown District Crime Officer, ASP Williams Kalami. He says they are enforcing strict wearing of the face mask here. Persons who show up at this registration center without a face mask are asked to go home, get one before they return.
So far today is very calm as compared to yesterday. Because initially yesterday there was a problem which was resolved leading to late start of the program. So people were agitating. But today everything is smooth. I think with the programs we put in place, everything is very smooth. The role of the police is very simple, to maintain law and order so that the exercise moves on smoothly.
Okay. Are you also checking whether people are complying with the social distancing protocol and the wearing of face masks? Are you also doing that here?
Yes, of course. You know, we are faced with a pandemic, and we must make sure we are all safe. So we see to it that people come with face masks. The social distances should also be observed. So we are ensuring that it is observed.
What about those who come without face masks? What happens to them?
Yeah, personally, I have even spotted some people who were not wearing face masks, and I advised them and sacked them, and they went back and came back in there.
Okay. So if you come here without face masks, you'll be sacked and asked to go and get one?
Yes, sure.
All right. So that's the situation in the Dudu constituency. I had one of the party officials saying, well, this is chalk up for you. Well, I'm not sure that any group of persons would say they do not want to protect themselves. But that's the situation we find in some registration centers at the Dudu constituency. Let me find out from Honorable Beja whether it was the same thing in his constituency. So, Honorable Beja, in your constituency, did you have persons not adhering to social distancing protocols? Did you have persons not wearing face masks and showing up at the registration centers?
Listen, I was amazed, especially today when I went around typical village area settings where I saw people wearing face masks. In one particular village, let me commend them. And I even said I was going to give them an award. Kisifili is a market center in Abutia and I'm a senior corporate. I saw people sitting down in an arranged setting. The social distance or physical distancing was there. You will see that they have even drew line at Abutia Gobe. They drew line as to where you should sit. And you see everybody wearing face mask. I was so amazed and I was so impressed about the way they are going about their thing. You would think that this is a village area and therefore people will not adhere to the protocols. But in our area, the people are adhering to the protocol. In fact, the police personnel who have been deployed there will make sure that when you come in first, even me, as I go from police station to police station, they still take my my temperature everywhere, and I still wash my hand before they allow me to enter the enclosed area to ask questions. That alone shows clearly that in our part of Ghana, we are observing it. But you see, I had one of the police agents or one of the political party agents there saying that, well, it is not necessary. We shouldn't have gone to this end by doing a new registration. That is what we are seeing now. We are now distributing, the virus than anything else, and it's very, very pathetic that if we are not careful after this exercise, a lot of people in our Greater Accra region or other cities will get the disease.
Who do we hold responsible?
Listen, who do we hold responsible? Your bet is as good as mine. We hold the government responsible because don't ask me why. I'll hold the government accountable and responsible.
Why?
I was expecting that when the government said they were going to make face masks available, they've contracted local people to produce face masks. I thought, or nose masks or whatever you call it, or face shield. I thought we were going to have it for free. People were going to be giving nose masks so that at least as you saw those people talking to each other, very close to each other, without wearing nose masks, I got panic. I'm even afraid whether I should come back to Accra, even though we are sitting, I should still stay in the village and continue doing my parliamentary work from the village. Because look at people, see how congested that place was. And you think that anyone who has the disease will not transmit it to a brother or a sister? Government should be held responsible. That's why we elected government into office, to take and make sure that individuals are protected, citizens are protected. Are they protecting us? EC has come out to say they have laid down, rules. They have trained their personnel to make sure that people will adhere to the protocols. But is that what we are seeing there? And then somebody will come out and say, "Oh, as for Choco people there, we don't adhere to protocol. We don't adhere to this type of social distancing." We shouldn't go there at all because it's not good for us.
Well, Emmanuel Kwesi Bedra, Member of Parliament for Ho West, thank you very much. Let me wrap up with Albert Kofi Ahin. Albert Kofi Ahin, finally, you've seen the video. What will be your closing remarks? Hello, Mr. Ahin. Albert Ahin, can you hear us? Well, I think that we've lost Albert Ahin, and that'll bring us to the end of this evening's edition of Upfront on Joynews. My name is Winston Amwa. On behalf of the team and everybody else, thank you very much. Up next is Joynews Prime. Have a lovely evening.